Welcome to the only Sandalphon guide you'll ever need to achieve your Granblue goals.
May the sky stay forever blue.
Sandalphon is an incredible all-rounder style of character that excels at the basics of Granblue through his strong buttons, long block strings, and amazing conversions off most hits. The Nightly Coffee Angel isn't just a basic character though. He has access to super cool stuff like elements that change up his fireballs and a guard crush. He even has a stance that you can use in different situations. My name is Wonubi and I've been grinding Sandy super hard, and I'm ready to teach you everything I currently know so that by the end of this video, you'll know his fundamental game plan, combos, which elements to use, and much, much more. If you're a new player, this guide might feel intimidating, but never underestimate the power of learning one mid-screen combo, one corner combo, one anti-air combo, and just getting used to your buttons and your moves. Timestamps will be in the description, so please enjoy. Our first section here is Sandy's general game plan. Sandy's general game plan revolves around the fact that he's an all-rounder with some extra sauce on top, so you're typically relying on tools like 6XL, right? Because it leaves you plus your dash light, good buttons, and normal strike throw. One weakness of Sandy is he doesn't have super easy ways to open people up compared to other characters. You know, he has to rely on the basics of strike throw. What I mean by that is he doesn't have crazy stuff like, you know, Narmaya having a plus on block throw bait or, you know, Grimnir 50-50 mix. He has to be pretty honest when opening people up. That's definitely a weakness, but it's covered by the fact that he's solid in other departments, like having amazing buttons and the ability to convert off little dinky hits into respectable combos anywhere on the screen. Let's say you're mid-screen and hit this, right? Oh, you actually get a bunch of mid-screen damage. On Sandy, you're going to want to start off playing neutral with your projectiles, or your really good buttons. Then you're going to want to convert those hits into wings and continue pressuring the opponent. Then of course you'll take them to the corner for big damage and rinse repeat. You'll also be using lots of elemental release, which you have access to when you have an element up, to keep your turn and convert into a huge combo in the corner.
Don't you tell me how many calories I need, bitch!
Now moving on, let's talk about Sandalphon's buttons. Sandy has really good buttons, so 6XL is obviously pretty much every character's most important move in this game, right? Everyone talks about dash light. It's a forward advancing, really quick move that leaves you at advantage state so you can continue to pressure your opponent and take your turn. So this is 2H, which is Sandy's designated anti-air button, which leads to pretty big damage. But do be a little bit careful, as like it feels pretty stubby sometimes. Like you can definitely miss this. So just be careful about that. Yeah. Then we have Sandy's 5L, which is this button right here, this big fat leg thing. It's kind of similar to Beatrix or Zeta, which is very useful at staying at a range and still being like, yo, I'm in your face and I'm still plus. So it's nice for like pressuring the opponent at a bit of a distance. His 6XM is a low, so it's running medium. It's pretty good for catching people lacking and taking your turn back. Now for his far mediums, they're really nice range pokes that leave you not too disadvantaged, so they're like really good to just throw out whenever. And of course, you can convert them and all that good stuff. His far 5H is a really big button, but it is a little bit slower to get out, right, than his mediums. And of course, he's minus 10, so if you're doing this way too close to people, they can probably punish you for it. Yeah. What's cool about this move is you can cancel it pretty freaking late into specials and stuff, you know? If you've ever played or watched the Sandy Mirror, I'm sure you know about this, but his 5H, it does kind of recover like a little bit late. So if you're whiffing this button, you can definitely get punished for it. For his jump normals, you're mainly going to want to be using jump medium, and jump heavy. And just be a little careful, as they won't combo unless you do them mostly closer to the ground. So for his other commonly used jumping normal, it'll be his jumping unique, which is this big fat purple sword. I'd be a little bit careful about using this because the frame data, like see it's negative there, it can be a little bit wonky, and then it's plus there. So I mean, if you know exactly how it works, you'll be fine. As like a general rule of thumb, if you're hitting it after you're jumping, so like after your jump arc, so not while like you're rising up. If you do it while you're rising up, it'll definitely be negative. But if you do it like once you're descending towards the ground during a jump, it'll usually be plus. It's mainly used as an anti-air tool. So basically, if someone's trying to anti-air me, I can instead use this, and it'll pretty much catch them out every time. Also be careful, if you're trying to like hit them while rising like this, it'll be negative, same with your light. I would also refrain from using tools like 6XH, which is a forward advancing heavy attack, and his sweep, which is a 2U. Because 6XL, his dash light, is kind of just like a better thing to do than dash heavy. Just because like, if they block it, you'd rather just keep your turn, right? As for a sweep, you can use it sometimes, but it's mainly a combo tool. I mean, like, the thing is, the actual sweep itself kind of hits a bit late, so you'll get hit out of this button while trying to use it a lot. I'd rather you just use your mediums if you're trying to, like, reverse a situation.
I'm Tim Cheese, and I killed John Pork.
Now let's move on to Sandalphon's abilities and ult skills. Now for Sandy's abilities, he has a fireball, projectile, an invincible reversal, so a DP, a stance, and a forward advancing lunge. His unique skill gives him access to cool stuff like elements, these elemental wings, that change his fireball properties and sometimes even other stuff we'll get into later. And of course, when he has an element up, he gets access to a really cool guard crush called Elemental Release. Sandy's fireball is pretty standard, so you know the light version is plus from far away, negative up close. The medium version is always going to be plus because it comes out late and hits 2 times. And the EX version is the best of both worlds, being always plus and hitting 3 times. His ultimate fireball, this one's crazy. It's super fast. It's like literally a gun, so use this to catch people off guard. So let's say Baby Sandy over here is trying to throw out his fireball. No! And of course, it is plus from far away and negative up close. All his fireballs are going to be great tools, but no matter which one you're using, he stands still. Like, he recovers kind of late from these, dude. So just be careful when you're using them, because you can definitely get, like, jumped in on and stuff. So Sandy's DP is, of course, a typical invincible reversal, right? Get people off you. The light version does not have invincibility, but you can get, like, a little bit of a baby combo off it. The medium version does have invincibility, and it recovers quicker than the EX version, so you'll be using the medium version most often. The EX version has a couple extra hits and does the most damage, and if they're trying to block in the air, the EX version can't be blocked. And that goes for his ultimate DP as well, which is a super quick reversal option. And most importantly, will not leave you in a counter hit state. See, that said punish, which means I will not take as much damage as if I did a regular DP, which will get absolutely destroyed for. Now, Sandy's lunge attacks are his conversion tools and have some pretty nice uses. His light lunge is very quick and it's negative, but it is safe on block, so you'll see people use this in neutral sometimes because it's so quick to catch people off guard. It's also your go-to mid-screen conversion tool for hits that are not your auto combo. His medium lunge is also very useful for converting off auto combo into a really nice knockdown situation. Of course, pretty dang slow to start up compared to the light version, and now it leaves you actually punishable on block. His EX lunge is pretty similar to the light lunge as it's super quick, but it's also similar to the medium lunge as it's punishable now. The difference with EX Lunge is it lets you get big conversions into the corner. You know, you get full combos off this thing, so use this as your main conversion tool when you're close to the corner. His ultimate lunge is super quick and combos off like any hit, but it is punishable on block. The neat thing is that you get pretty nice mid-screen damage and corner carry off this ult skill, so it's a pretty nice meter burn. On top of all that, you can connect hits, like, super late, as you can see. There's also another use for his EX Lunge, which is Elemental Release, but I will get to that later when we talk about elements. Just remember his lunges do not have invulnerability, so they're just really quick, but you can get hit out of them. As for Sandy's stance, it is really cool and has 5 unique follow-ups. The light version of his stance is just this kind of shitty negative sword swipe, so I really would not use it. But his medium version does a little backstep, as you can see, before giving him access to any of 5 different moves. You can press forward or back to do a little teleport that can actually go through some projectiles like fireballs. Or even, I had this happen the other day, you can go through B Super. So it's pretty sick. You can press light or medium for a safe projectile. It's -6, it's safe from range, and is also very active on whiff, so it's kind of hard to deal with for the opponent. So, you know, you can do cute stuff like leave it out and get into your element. Then heavy is this forward advancing swipe that is always going to be punishable, so it's mainly used with the EX version of the stance for combos. Lastly, he can press the unique button for this forward advancing palm strike that leaves you and your opponent at an evenly advantageous state, so either of you can try and take your turn back. And on hit, you can get some like pretty sick combos no matter where you are on the screen. This move is actually punishable when spot dodged. You can see it said -7 right there. But you can hold it down with like varying timings to actually catch people trying to do the spot dodge. So see, I got a counter hit because I knew she was going to spot dodge and I just held it just a little bit longer. Now the EX version is a bit different as it starts off with this sword swipe instead of medium version's backdash. And if this hits, you can actually get a combo off it with the heavy follow-up. The EX version is great as a block string tool, and of course can catch people trying to mash. His projectiles, the light and medium follow-up, also changed now as they are now even on block instead of -6, so you can also just go and try and take your turn back after, right? You reset to neutral. And your heavy follow-up and your palm strike, the unique follow-up, also come out faster. Now, the ultimate version of Stance is a quick multi-hitting projectile that is safe on block and gives you a side swap on hit. Now let's talk about Sandy's elements and elemental release. Sandy's unique skill gives him access to 4 different elements through the wings of the 4 Primarchs depending on the button that you press, which of course are the 4 buttons, light, medium, heavy, respectively. These elements are fire, water, earth, and wind. They mainly just change his fireball properties, but they can also give him a little bit of sauce too. They all make him take 10% increased damage, and the wind version actually makes him take 20% increased damage. Now, 10% increased damage can be kind of acceptable, but 20% is not, alright? Let's see how much damage a counter hit combo will do in the corner. 20% increased damage is no joke, bro. You get TOD'd for using this element. He's actually the most squishy character in the game in Wind Element. So Fire Element. This element gives Sandy's fireballs more damage than his regular fireballs and knocks people down on hit, so you can kind of close the gap a bit quicker. You also get access to some new combos because it has a little juggle after. Water Element changes Sandy's fireballs into this multi-hitting bubble that can actually tank hits. The medium and EX version move forward slowly and can tank hits from projectiles. There's also some sneaky tech applications, like being able to combo into it off a throw. You might have seen that stuff on Twitter. Or you might have also seen this little unblockable setup. Now, the Earth Element changes Sandy's fireballs into grounded earthquake projectiles that have varying range depending on the version that you're using. Now, usually the element doesn't really change Sandy's frame advantage of his fireballs, but the closer you are, this is the light version, the closer you are, the more plus you are when you're using these projectiles. And of course, as you can tell, they're also all multi-hitting. Wind turns him into an absolutely cracked out character. I mean, look how fast I can cover the screen right now. He gets super movement speed and also gets an air dash. The air dash, unfortunately, can only go forward, but it's still really good. And his fireball is much faster. Just make sure you're smart because he takes 20% increased damage, most squishy character in the game in this element. Now, in terms of theory and which element to use, people are going to ask what the best element is. So obviously, it's wind if it wasn't for the 20% damage increase. The air dash and new movement speed are just broken as buffs, but I really wouldn't use wind because you just take so much damage. So unless you're very low, or you know for a fact it is going to be useful in a matchup that you have down perfectly, I would stay heavily away from this element otherwise. As for Earth Element, its best applications are in the corner because you can kind of stack these plus frames and stuff, but it's very weak mid-screen as, I mean, look at this, like, it has hardly any range. Fire and Water, I'd say they're pretty universally good elements, so I would stick to using these, especially if you are new to Sandy. You really don't have to overthink Fire Element as you just get better fireballs and more damage at a basic level. Water Element is extremely strong when your opponent doesn't have quick tools to stop you from using it, and I'd recommend making use of the EX version most of the time just because it's a lot quicker to come out, as you can see. Again, you really don't have to overthink using this element as you can pop it out and just run behind it. It'll tank multiple hits and you can just destroy people. You do have to be a little bit careful depending on the matchup because, you know, someone like Beatrix could just say, no, screw you. Some people like to argue that there's currently no reason to get into any element and take the increased damage, but in my opinion, that is just not the case. It would be more accurate to say, though, that every element's most useful attribute is about letting you have access to elemental release. So Elemental Release is an advantageous guard crush that you gain access to once you are in literally any element. If you press the unique button after a Lunge special move, it'll basically just lose your element, putting you back in base form and leaving you advantageous. That is, unless you're using it after Light Lunge, which I would just not recommend at all. It's best used after EX Lunge, so you have the benefit of having a super freaking quick, basically unreactable plus on block guard crush. This move is the bread and butter to Sandy's gameplay, as cashing out on your elements to still be plus on block and take your turn back is extremely valuable. If it hits mid-screen, you really don't get much off it, you get this ult fireball. But if it hits in the corner, you get a full-on combo conversion, so it is very strong. I mean, you gotta think about how strong this is, especially in the corner. Like, if you're just block stringing someone, or you're just, like, making them kind of scared, and then boom, you throw this out randomly, and they don't know when you're gonna throw it out, and they can't react to it, and you get a full combo off it, and if they block it, it's still your turn. That is very, very strong.
You're gonna love our pizza.
Next, let's go over Sandy's combos, conversions, and knockdowns. Starting off with combos, I separated this section into essential combos for anyone picking him up and some extra stuff if you want to take him a bit further. You can freestyle your combos with Sandy, so don't feel like you need insane combos and Twitter tech to climb. I'll make the notation as easy to understand as possible, and I will also leave it in the description along with a notation guide. Now, this first section of combos is going to be his absolutely essential combos. The first of his absolutely essential combos is his anti-air combo. If you can tell they are high up enough, you can just go into the ult skill immediately, instead of having to go into 5H ult skill. But I find that it stabilizes the combo very nicely. If you don't have any meter, you can just go into like light lunge or EX lunge and just call it a day. The next essential combo is this mid-screen meter combo. So this obviously takes meter, but it gets you damage literally anywhere off the screen, off like any poke. It's super, super strong. Make sure you take advantage of the mid-screen meter combo. It's your way to get mid-screen damage. It is the thing you do on Sandy. The third essential combo is his Raging Strike combo. Boom. So this is your basic combo for using Raging Strike, but just make sure you're quick on this 2U. As you see there, I missed it. If you're really having trouble, you can just like mash it out. The last two combos in the essential combos are going to be corner combos. The first corner combo is going to be with Element Up. It's going to be basically any hit into elemental relays. If you're having trouble with timing this combo, you can just like mash everything out. So when it comes to Sandy's corner combos, and this combo, of course, I need to show you something. If you mess up this combo and do it too late, and try to get a meaty after, so like, I should be plus, right? I should be able to get a light after and keep my turn. I got thrown out. And the reason was because of the height. So we don't have to get too technical about it, but when I did the combo before, and I did it correctly, I was like +3 or something. If you are +1 or worse, you will get thrown out of the combo. I just want people to know why it happens. You don't have to worry about it too much. Just make sure you're doing the combo correctly, or just mash it out if you're really having trouble. That'll be good most of the time. And you can kind of eyeball it, right? It's like, okay, clearly here, I'll be fine. See, I counter hit her. But as an extra little tip, if you are very scared, you can also just throw them back, and you'll both, like, reset the situation. But yeah, I just want people to know that's a situation that can happen on Sandy if you're trying to get wings after your corner combos. Our final essential combo is going to be a corner combo without element. So it doesn't matter what hit you get, and then you go into 5M, blah, blah, blah. So the thing about this combo is very, very reliable, but the 5M basically stabilizes the combo. Like, if they're too high up, you just wait a little bit and you can get the 5M, and you'll always get a nice and clean combo conversion. The alternative, which is 2U, can sometimes whiff depending on the height, so by doing 5M, you're stabilizing it. What I mean is a situation like this, 2U can be a little bit hard to time, and sometimes it'll be even wonkier. So instead, if you convert these weird height situations with the 5M instead, you can kind of eyeball it. See, I waited a little bit to do the 5M. And you'll still get your full combo off. I would recommend not actually using wings at the end of this combo like I did the first time, because there, I probably timed it well, but it can be very, very hard to get the correct timing, especially depending on wonkier hits. That's why it's the stable combo. So just try not to use wings after this combo, because it can be a little inconsistent. Now on to extra combos if you just want to take your Sandy to the next level. The first of our extra combos is going to be the BP into super combo in the corner. So you do any hit into medium, into BP, into this. That combo is very useful for getting a crap ton of damage and dumping your BP. I'd also like to do a little bit of an honorable mention for stance palm combos, medium stance palm. Now our next extra combo is going to be using stance as the first conversion tool. So general rule of thumb is you typically want to do this combo after an auto combo or off like a counter hit poke, right? So mediums will work. And the reason I like this combo so much is it's your go-to B&B because it gives you access to wings super duper easily, and because you can see how high it pops them up, you get 3 heavies at the end instead of 2. So I want to give you a little bit of tips about the combos now that we're at the end of them. Do not be intimidated by these combos, as you'll realize they're super similar once you're learning them. They might seem like a lot at first though. but once you learn one, you can learn the other kind of deal. Now on to conversions. Your most essential conversions on Sandy are your mid-screen conversions and your corner conversions. So when it comes to mid-screen conversions, you want to convert pretty much any far hits into light lunge and wings. If you get your auto combo off, most likely it'll probably happen after 6XL. Then you'll want to go into medium lunge for a really nice knockdown situation afterwards with a lot of corner carry. And of course, if you have meter, you can convert your mid-screen hits into ultimate lunge for nice corner carry and damage. For converting your hits into the corner, you're going to want to use EX Lunge as a baseline, but if you're too far away, there's a chance that EX Stance will still get you there. As you can see, you can convert from pretty dang far with it. But of course, as we talked earlier, it's kind of tough to get Stance follow-up, as it has to be an auto combo or a counter hit. Then for some basic conversions, up close you get your medium auto combo off 6XL, and then off of further away 6XL, you get 5L into light tackle. Now for knockdowns. Sandy has some very unique knockdown situations that you need to know about, especially if you're using wings, specifically in the mid-screen after his lunges. So you know how you want to do your light lunge into wings? So after light lunge, you're only advantageous enough +1 to get a 2M afterwards. And your opponent can actually jump or backdash out of that, or literally walk out of it. They have options. See? She jumped out of it. So you can opt to not use wings and still get a regular meaty, still hit them. But if you are going to use wings, just know that this is something that happens. It's an RPS situation. It's rock, paper, scissors. You're kind of guessing on what your opponent's going to do, and your opponent's guessing on what you're going to do. Because if they decide to jump out of it, you can still hit them with a medium button. 5M can be mashed on, so that's why I'm saying there's layers to it. You know, you kind of have to be guessing. Now our final section of the guide, offense. I'll try to keep this section quick, as parts of it can get into general game guide territory, but don't worry, we're going to start off with the Sandy specific stuff. Offense is vital to any game, as opening people up means hitting them, which means doing damage, which means winning. So Sandy, in my opinion, has the huge strength of having long block strings that don't give up his turn entirely. So here's what I mean. You can see that if your opponent doesn't know the exact timings you can and cannot interact with Sandalphon, which we went over when going over his abilities and buttons, you can have extremely fluid and long strings that can catch people trying to do stuff. I simply want to encourage you to be creative because there's so many options with this string, so if you're looking for some basic and practical stuff to start you out, here's the sauce. So off further away 6XLs, you want to be going into medium, so you can do something like this. Or instead of EX Fireball, you go into Stance. And of course, you can also go into the Palm Strike from that. When it comes to a closer 6XL, you'll want to be doing stuff like this. So going into your far 5 light, and then your down medium. And what's cool about this is, of course, if you have elemental release, your turn's not over. They think it's over, it's not over. And you can, of course, go into Fireball or Stance, but that's basically just what I'm trying to show you. So just to emphasize. Now moving along, because Sandy doesn't have the crazy open people up capabilities that characters can have, you end up needing to use the game's basic systems of strike throw. I'm going to keep this part very quick and compact just so people can get an idea of what getting hits looks like on this character. I'll be covering frame traps and shimmies. A frame trap is when you give the opponent enough time in between your attacks to mash, but your attack still hits them regardless, making it a trap. A very useful example of this you want to be using is close 5L into close 5H. This will catch anyone trying to mash and absolutely blow them up for it too with a counter hit. So if we do our 5L, and she's mashing, if we do heavy after the 5L, it will frame trap and it will absolutely destroy her for trying to mash. Same thing with 6XL into medium. Next, a shimmy is when you expect your opponent to throw tech when you go in to throw them. So instead, you pull a Michael Jackson walking back and forth and try to bait out their throw. It looks something like this in my games. So you see, I just walk back and forth on her, and I can hit her after if she threw. So that was just doing a 5L and doing a walk up, walk back. It can be a little risky depending on like the opponent you're fighting, which is why a really strong option would be to do 6XL, run up, and backdash. I think this times it really easy, especially for like people that are new to doing shimmies. Because if they think you're gonna do run up throw here, after a 6XL, you can run in and do a backdash. And of course, I can just go right back in and kill him for it. So these shimmies are super useful when people are using throw to tech, right? But remember, you can tech with buttons in this game, which will end up looking like this. The reason people do this is because it's generally pretty safe to shimmies. Let's say in the same situation where I did a shimmy, I want to bait out their throw, Narmaya uses a button to throw tech instead. I just got hit. So that's a little glimpse into some of the higher level throw mind games that happen in this game. And of course, in this situation, they would have been caught by some sort of run-up button. Lastly, for offense, I want to cover some very basic safe jumps. Basically, it's when you have a situation where you're advantageous enough to jump up, do a button, and if they do any kind of reversal, they will get hit. So let's say Narmaya tried to contest and do an option after we did a safe jump. She's going to do a DP, an invincible reversal. You saw how my button came out, but I was still blocking. So some basic safe jumps that Sandy has is after throw, you just do a regular forward jump. And of course, I would recommend using your heavy button. Mid-screen, after a throw, you will get a super jump as your follow-up. Then, doesn't matter where you are, after your Einsoft R super, you will always get a regular forward jump. You can just hold up, it'll automatically time it. So his Paradise Lost super works just like the throw. Mid-screen, you have to do a super jump. It's a little hard to time as well, so I'd recommend waiting like halfway through his Aura Farm animation and then inputting it. You should be able to get it there. And then in the corner, you can just automatically time it by holding up forward just like Einsoft R. But yeah, you just do a regular forward jump. And now I just want to say, congratulations, you freaking made it to the end of the guide. I am very, very proud of you if you actually watch this shit. And I don't want to just give you all this information, wondering how you can apply it in an actual match. So I'm going to show you a match with commentary from me to help you understand how things are supposed to look in motion. Okay, so I decided to pick one random replay that I won so I could show you how to apply some of the stuff that we actually talked about in the guide.
Battle 2. Engage.
Okay, so as you can see, that was really useful to whiff that projectile from medium stance. As she literally was like, I don't know how to get through this, I'm just gonna jump. And I could have gotten an anti-air, but your boy is kind of bad at anti-airing. As you can see, we converted those far away normals into light lunge, into wings, and then kept it safe to frame trap them with 2M. And because I still wanted to take my turn after, I went into elemental release. Plus some block guard crush, very strong. Oh, that's another good thing. Remember to use your Brave counter. It's very, very strong still. And if you get a counter hit Brave counter, it'll leave them grounded. It'll leave them knocked down. And then you can literally get a side swap on Sandy just like I did. And then she got flustered and literally just got hit after. We literally kill off this, yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Sandy has a great mid-screen damage and mid-screen corner carry because of that back ult skill, even off little hits or one hit confirms. So make sure you're using that mid-screen damage combo. That is literally everything I've got for you in terms of Sandalphon stuff. So when I was writing this, I didn't expect it to be so long because I internalized so much of what I had to explain here. I want that to be motivation for anyone listening to be consistent and continue going and continue learning. It may seem like a lot, but the more you play, the more you pick up on. So keep it simple and digest what you can for where you're at with the game. Eventually, everything becomes second nature. I remember personally getting into the FGC with Dragon Ball Fighters, and feeling like there were only specific guides that helped me, because they all seemed to have some sort of disconnect with where I was at or didn't explain things well. That's why I tried coming at this guide for all levels of skill to feel like they were acknowledged. I really, really hope I was able to accomplish that for you. If you truly found value from this guide, I am so honored by that, so happy about that. And I really do hope you'll consider watching more of my videos, or just check out my live stream over on twitch.tv/Wonubi. On a personal note, I want to eventually compete on this character, on Sandy, so it's a privilege legit to let out everything I currently know about him. I hope we can improve at the Legendary, Supreme, Primarch, Coffee, Angel, Sword, Knight, Legendary, Justice, Redemption, together. So yeah, hope this guide was helpful.